we're gonna ask Casey D if she has ever been in a situation or seen a situation like we had in the English football. So, Casey D.
Hi.
I don't know if you saw this from Sunday night, and we're in opening kickoff because John is still trying to figure out new technology and pushing buttons and everything, so I'm a little slow on the draw this morning.
No problem.
I don't know if you saw what happened in the Crystal Palace Leicester match.
I did not.
Okay.
I
So
did not.
basically, what happened was this. You had one player for Crystal Palace as a part of a coming together of players trying to gain possession of the ball. Basically put the opposing player in a headlock in play, like literally a headlock.
Okay.
And then bulldog them to the ground over a player that was on the ground. And of course, then you have the big coming together and you have the big to do or anything like that. So it was an overly physical moment where literally it was a headlock and a hip toss that throws the opposing player on the ground. So footage shows Olivia McLaughlin, the Leicester player, already on the ground, moving and shielding her head against the aftermath of the flashpoint. Littlejohn immediately shown straight red, violent conduct, reducing Crystal Palace to 10. Came minutes after a goal made it 3-0, putting the contest beyond Leicester's reach. And so Crystal Palace taking control, all that kind of stuff. And so now it appears that Rachel Littlejohn is going to be facing a large suspension because of a headlock and a bulldog takedown in game. Have you ever been a part of anything like that? Have you ever seen anything go off the rails like that in calling a match, coaching a match, anything like that? I don't know what would compel an individual to sit there and put an opponent in a headlock and then hip toss them down on the ground as a part of your winning 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Have you ever seen anything like that in any game that you have been a part of whatsoever?
Luckily, I have not. I've never been a part of it in a game. I've never called it. I've never coached against it. I probably have only seen what everyone else has seen, which is some pulls on the hair that go viral and things like that. I'm glad to hear that they're getting on it swiftly because there's just no place for it from a violent conduct perspective on the field. So I did not see it yet, though. So I am unaware that happened, but I've never been a part of something like that.
I don't know what compels any player of any level to sit there and want to put an opponent in any kind of a headlock, a hip toss, and just throwing them down the turf. I mean, we've seen it in heated rivalries and things like that. No, there's no excuse for it, but I didn't know if that is the most recent oddly violent tactic behavior that was shown in a match over the weekend. I just wanted to double check with you and see if you'd had anything go off the rails like that physically in any kind of a match that you've been a part of. I just wanted to double check that.
Yeah, luckily not, and I would say it's incredibly rare. So we'll keep it at that and say it's a good thing that it's incredibly rare. So hopefully it stays that way.
Yes, absolutely true. All right, so I know that we need to get into college soccer. We'll get into Division I. We'll get into a little bit of MLS and the NWSL title game as well. So college soccer, I think on the weekend in Division I, the biggest thing to take away from all of it was you had a lot of those top seeds who came into the tournament and they're not top seeds anymore because they're out the door on the men's side. You had top three seeds and 7 of the 9 go out the door. So it was beyond crazy where you had the men's tournament and the women's tournament. They went a little sideways in Division I. Where do you want to start?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things we can talk about. Obviously I do sometimes follow the women's game more just because that's what I'm calling. But on the men's side, excuse me, on the men's side, I think you're right. I've always noticed, yes, there's parity on the women's side as well. It definitely is. It's grown a lot. But I've always felt in the NCAA tournament on the men's side, anyone can win. Like a first round game makes me nervous more than it even does on the women's side. It still makes me nervous on the women's side for top seeds. But it just seems like in the men's game, you have to be on it from the first kickoff of the first round. Even if you have a bye, your first game, you've got to be ready to go.
Hofstra gets a golden goal. So Vermont is out the door. And so Hofstra is now in. You get its 13th goal of the year, 29-match unbeaten streak. Now is a 1-match beaten streak if you're talking about Vermont. That dates back to October 26th of last year. So the number 2 and the number 3 seeds out the door, 5, 6, 8, 9 out the door. So Virginia loses to UNC Greensboro. Duke beats Princeton, the number 3. Then you have, let me see. So Vermont loses, Virginia loses, Princeton loses, Maryland survives. Oh, by the way, where is your Ramses mug?
I'm still supporting today. We had 2 big losses this weekend, but Tar Heels for sure.
So North Carolina goes up against Maryland, 1-1 after 90, loses 4-3. Washington beats SMU, the number 5. St. Louis beats Indiana, the number 6. Georgetown, the 7, survives UCF. Portland, the 8, loses to Denver 5-4 in PKs. Grand Canyon beat number 9 San Diego. Number 10 High Point beats West Virginia. And then so you finally get to like 10, and it's normal after what happened. So High Point, Bryant, Stanford, UConn, Akron, NC State, Furman, 10 through 16, they're fine. But 1 through 9 was berserk on the men's side. Does that speak more to the first round matchup like you're talking about, or does it discuss parity and not taking a group of 5 conference for granted in situations like this?
I think it speaks to the parity, and we've had teams that have proven it all year, but then the actual proving ground is the NCAA tournament. So I just think the parity in the men's league is unbelievable. It always has been, to be quite honest with you, but it continues to improve, and it just shows that from top to bottom, there's some really high level talent in the NCAA tournament.
Now you've got that happening in the second round. On the women's side, TCU advances, Stanford advances, Vandy advances, TCU and North Carolina. Go ahead and raise the mug one more time. Go ahead, raise the mug. Yeah, so there you go. TCU and Carolina 1-1 after 90, and they go to the shootout, and they only survive regulation because of a goal from Camden Fuller. 6 seconds to go in regulation, so it's off a corner. So you get a goal off a set piece with 6 seconds to go regulation. Then it goes further and further, and then TCU wins in the shootout 4-3. We'll discuss that as much as you want. Stanford over BYU, and that was 6. And wow, that's 6-0. That's crazy. Over BYU at number 5. Vandy over LSU 1-0. Melania Fullerton, and so Vandy goes to 18-3-2, most victories in a season since 94. So the chaos that we had on the men's side, you had chaos on the women's side as well. So how do you navigate all this chaos? And it talks about obviously about the parity, but it's chaos, people, in the college game.
The biggest surprise for me on the women's side was the round before with Notre Dame going out. Yeah. I felt that was a huge surprise. With them losing to Ohio State in the last little bit. So that was a big one. I thought Notre Dame was a team that has what it takes to potentially win a national championship. The reminder is that they have a sophomore goalkeeper, 2 sophomore forwards, and the ACC Offensive Player of the Year is a sophomore. So all is not lost for Notre Dame, but I was really surprised by that. Virginia losing was a bit of a surprise as well, but Washington's on a bit of a run, and anytime you go to penalty kicks, it can be incredibly difficult. It was a tough night in Charlottesville. You mentioned the men earlier. They played back-to-back games, both going into the late stages. So it was a tough game, that one going to penalties as well on the men's side. So for the women, I think we'll address UNC, of course. I think top 16 for them this year is a fair finish. Obviously, as an alum and as someone watching the game, they were 6 seconds away from going to the Elite 8, which I think would have been such a great place to go to no matter what happened from there on out for UNC. But the marking at the back post wasn't right. The post player was off the post. There was just a lot that went wrong on that corner kick. And then you missed 2 penalties by 2 of our top goal scorers. It happens, but TCU is a good team. They've been good all year. I think it is a fair placement for the Tar Heels, as much as I would have loved for them to move on. And you mentioned the parity piece. I think that also has to be some credit given to the coaches on the men's and the women's side, that the coaching is at a higher level than it's ever been in the college game, in my opinion, from a tactical perspective. So not only is the gap not big between teams, but coaches know how to adapt. They make really good scouting reports. They are elite at figuring out how to make these teams hard to beat. And that keeps them in games to be able to have upsets.
All right, so let's take a peek at the bracket as it stands. Everybody's getting dialed up for Saturday, and it is TCU and Vanderbilt low left, It is Duke and Washington low right. Duke and Washington, by the way, that's going to be on Black Friday. Duke and Washington, Black Friday, 4 o'clock Eastern time. TCU and Vandy is going to be on Saturday. Then you've got Ohio State and Florida State, Stanford and Michigan State in the upper half of your bracket. So we're down to the final 8. When you look at this group, what do you think?
I think that Stanford, I think they're going to win. I do not know how anyone stops their scoring. They have so many attacking threats that it is just almost impossible to stop them. 6-0 against BYU is insane. It's just insane. And 7-3 against Alabama. Now, you can look at that critically and go, they gave up 3 goals. So if they have a day where they're struggling to score or someone sits back with a lot of numbers, is that going to make it hard on Stanford? But if you look across an entire season, they don't score goals in one way by one player. It's not always in the run of play. They're also very good on free kicks, great on corner kicks. They're good in the air. They could also score from the run of play. So I think Michigan State is very good. I just don't see anyone stopping Stanford. Washington, Duke, to me, I give the edge to Duke, but Washington's on a run. They've got a goalkeeper that is, let's say, spirited. She's spirited. And she is an emotional leader. Nicole Van Dyke, their head coach, is an emotional leader who came from Stanford. She's a high-level coach, so don't count them out. Florida State, Ohio State, toss-up. I would give the edge to Florida State just because Ohio State didn't have the greatest year. They're unseeded, but they're on a run as well. And then TCU Vanderbilt, I have no idea. I think that is whoever shows up on the day because both teams are very well organized and have a lot of attacking threats.
Okay, so we will put those in the hermetically sealed envelope, and we'll have those ready for you next week.
We'll see how those age in a week from now.
It's right there with you. Men's side, they're a round behind. So you're looking at third round action, Hofstra and Furman. Hofstra knocking off Vermont, obviously. That was one of the biggest things on the board completely. So Furman continues to host. Hofstra ends up on the 30th, which is Sunday. So I have to look at a calendar. I just like 30 days ahead, September, April, June.
I do too, don't worry.
Hofstra and Furman. So Furman as the 16 has made it through. Akron as the 14 has made it through after knocking off Notre Dame on the men's side. So Duke and Akron, Hofstra and Furman, Grand Canyon and Portland is the 8. Grand Canyon knocks off San Diego at the 9. Bryant knocks off Seton Hall. St. Louis upsets Indiana. So that mini quadrant is gone completely into file 13. So the 11 comes through. St. Louis unranked comes through. And that's the upper half of the bracket. Then you've got Washington and Stanford. Washington, once again, not ranked. Beat Oregon State in double overtime. Beat number 5 SMU to get to play number 12 Stanford. Then you have UConn and Maryland, one of the few chalk brackets, period, one of the few chalk quadrants, period. Maryland and UConn, NC State, UNC Greensboro coming through from the SoCon. NC Greensboro beat Furman at Furman in the SoCon title game. They beat Elon in PKs. They end up beating Virginia, the number 2, to get to play NC State, the 15. Then you have Georgetown and High Point, which is a 7-10. So 2 of the 8 possible matchups have the ranked teams that are supposed to be there on the men's side. If I say it's chaos, how far off am I?
Not that far. It's showbiz, baby. That's what I think. This is the fun time of year. Unless you are the top seeded team, you enjoy this stuff as a fan. You just never know who's going to step up. I'm interested to watch Bryant. Admittedly, I haven't seen them this year, and they've had a really great season. So I'm just excited to watch their journey to see how far they go. Also, that UNC Greensboro NC State game, I find very intriguing. Just being in this local area as well, knowing what that means for a team that's not in a Power 4 to come through and beat Virginia. Can they keep it going versus a team like NC State, who's had a wonderful year?
Now, where do you want to go? Do you want to go MLS or do you want to go NWSL?
Let's go MLS.
Okay, so MLS, we had a decent amount of chaos last night for the most recent matchup of the bunch. We had our friend Adrian Garcia Marquez on the bark for Life at the Murph Dragon, and San Diego advances. San Diego FC takes out Minnesota United, the team that drives you crazy, unless you're a fan of the quarter zip pullover and the T-shirt underneath with Eric.
I like Minnesota.
What? Okay, so let's.
And it's so not my style when I coached or anything, so it's so opposite. I don't know why I like them.
I was going to ask. I mean, well, and one of the things that I noticed about them in particular was the idea that you have a team like Minnesota, and they drive you crazy because for them, literally, the ball has cooties. They don't like it. They don't want the ball. It's just like, nope, I don't want it. No sir, don't like it. No like it at all. And they even do the Luis Enrique PSG kickoff, where they launch it long into the corner. Don't want it. They're not going to do anything with it because they hate possession. Apparently, possession. The P word is a bad word in Minnesota. You can't have the P word. You cannot have possession of the ball if you're Minnesota United. So what they do is the Luis Enrique PSG kickoff, launch it into the corner to create an opportunity for their defense to pin you in, to get a short field, turn it over, and end up getting a quick shot on target. So maybe it's that, the art of the chase. I don't know.
Well, let's not be dramatic. They still get like 40-something% possession. So it's not like they don't want the ball, John. But no, I'm with you. I think I like Minnesota United for a couple reasons. One, it infuriates people, and I find it hilarious. And so I think there's just a part of me that when it's infuriating to play against, I have a little bit of respect for it, from the way that they manage themselves. Is it the way I like teams that I used to coach to play? No, that's not the route I would go. I am definitely a let's win 5-4 rather than 1-0 type of coach. But that's my style, and that's what I like. The other reason I like them is because there is a level of buy-in that gives me a lot of respect for Eric Ramsey, because it's hard to get players to buy into systems of play no matter how you play, but it's effective. Now, has it gotten them past the conference semifinal? No, it has not. But it has been effective throughout the year. And when you have a coach that can create buy-in and that can create it where there's success that comes out of it, not buy-in just, hey, let's go down with the ship and we're not any good. Like, they're actually a good club, and they follow his lead. I think that's pretty impressive.
And they grounded out for a while, and you could tell that San Diego FC was getting really frustrated with what they weren't able to do. Usually on that surface at the Murph Dragon, it's back and forth, and they're pinning people in and getting their opportunities. They finally do get the breakthrough. They finally do win 1-0. And so San Diego advances. And we spent a lot of time yesterday on Vancouver and LAFC. I called it an instant classic. I don't think I'm far off, considering that Vancouver had to finish 120 minutes with 9 players. And there were all of these chances that LAFC, literally you had post crossbar late in the second overtime. And, it was just one of the wilder games I've seen, where you end up having to play the final 30 minutes of regulation a man down because of a second yellow. Then you are out of subs and you've got to play with 9, and you're trying to navigate just to kind of get to PKs and make sure that you could get it after you had a 2-0 lead. I have so much stuff going in my head about Vancouver and LA. The free kick from Sonny at 90+4. How insane is it to be able to have that much control of a ball to where you end up throwing a slider upper 90 from 25 that Takaoka has no chance to get to?
One of the best free kicks I've seen in a long time, based on context of where it was at in the game, what it meant, but also from a technical execution piece. I was watching from my couch and I jumped up and started yelling. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was so excited. I am not an LAFC fan. I am not a Vancouver fan. I'm a soccer fan. And that free kick got me going. I was like, let's go play some pickup right now. Like, I was ready to go. But you said it, John. Like, honestly, the approach he had to take, you could see Mueller just look over his shoulder and go like, did that actually go in? Because the angle, the way it had to go up and over the wall and curl in was such a minute amount of space that he was able to find. I don't think you are far off from saying it's an instant classic, because not only everything that happened at the end, but the 2-0 lead being erased by LAFC, and Vancouver was flying in that first half. Second half was a lot of fun. Then they do it with the free kick. you go down 2 players, all those types of things. I felt bad for Sonny missing the penalty kick because they wouldn't have been there if that wasn't for him already. But no top player cares about that at that point. They want to make their penalty. So I felt for him on a human level. But what a fun game for fans to be watching, especially the neutral or the Vancouver fans, obviously, because they got out with the win.
Yeah, just under 54,000 record crowd at BC Place to see that. And then Hugo Lloris felt compelled to complain about the surface after the match, the artificial turf. Last time I checked, it wasn't the first time that you played there. If you're LAFC, there's a thing called home and away, and it's not the first time that LAFC has played on that surface. Yeah, I know it's a welcome mat. I get it. It's got weird quirks and bounces and things like that. But grass surfaces have weird quirks and bounces too, because the grass may not be mowed the right way. You might have the lawnmower sit there and take a divot out where it's not supposed to. The grass may not be even. So I would just ask Mr. Lloris to dial it back about 19 different.
It wasn't talked about before the game, but it was talked about after the game. That just doesn't look right to me. Maybe talk about it in a month from now, and when there maybe could be actual change. I think that's the way I look at it. His argument's not wrong, or his statement necessarily. Like, if you don't like turf, you don't like turf, and a lot of people feel that way. But you're right. It just seemed to not be the best timing when that was such a great game.
Yeah,
and it was the last thing on people's minds, even the players. I would argue, I know I'm not in their locker room and this and that, but I just thought that was an interesting thing to bring out.
Yeah. I mean, last time I checked, sour grapes can be turned into red wine. So that's all right. So then now with Vancouver advancing, they go to San Diego on the weekend. What's your early thoughts on that in the conference final?
Oh gosh. I honestly have no prediction on this.
Because we just got the matchup last night. I'm just,
No, but the reason is when you get to this point in any kind of championship run, it's such little margins that separate. And I would have said that with watching Cincinnati, Miami. I'd have been like, this is going to be a tight one. Mm-hmm. And then Messi just happened. And which he often does.
Yeah, I heard it.
And then it's this big blowout. So yes, if a team shows up on any given day and they're just clicking and it's just on for them, it could not be tight. It might end up being something like we saw with Inter Miami winning 4-0. But with this matchup, I just think that there's an emotional piece to Vancouver on top of all the technique, all the tactics that they're able to employ that seems to be guiding them, that they're just fighting. But they do have, their defender, like when they got the red card, that's going to be out. That's a big one for me. And San Diego had a little bit of a scare last night. So I think they dial some things up.
Eastern Conference, Messi and friends, they just seem like they're steamrolling, folks. And now I know, and we got into this also yesterday, and I wanted to get your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks have been ishing on Javier Mascherano. Hey, he's never coached at the team level. He's only done club. He's never done team before. And it's going to be a disaster in the beginning of the year. And Javier Mascherano has not been given, I think, enough credit for navigating all of this stuff to get to this point. Everyone seemed to be completely and totally surprised that he sits Luis Suarez and you end up with Silvetti and Allende up top with Messi to create. But because of what we saw with Nashville in game 3 of that series, where if you got young legs out there, not named Luis Suarez, you can press, you can go quickly and go at back lines that you can't have if you've got Suarez out there that's a part of this equation. So Mascherano goes for the younger players. Silvetti, U19 for Argentina, and you're getting instant results from him. And it's just Messi and friends continue to just push folks out of the building. And, Lionel Messi with this 2 ridiculous passes and 2 of his 3 assists.
The top leaders, in my opinion, in any type of work industry know how to surround themselves with people that make them better. So if you have a staff around you, if you have people that are good tactically or they're good with people management, whatever it may be, then you're going to look even better as a coach. And Mascherano is talented in and of himself in a lot of ways, but you also surround yourself with people that you're better as the collective than as the individual. So I don't really buy into this first-year coach thing. It's more about knowing what you need to supplement your own genuine personality with to get the right results. So we don't know all behind the scenes what he's done with that, but when I see a first-time first-time leader. He's been a leader on the field, obviously, but in a coaching perspective, I have to think that he has also surrounded himself with people that make him better. On top of that, then you make decisions, whether it's as the collective or if Mascherano made it, he obviously has the final say of playing Messi with Silvetti, with Allende, as you brought up. Messi as a 9, Luis Suarez a 9, completely different 9s. We know that. Messi's going to drop in. He's going to play a lot differently. So this, to me, was also a tactical decision that made a lot of sense, especially coming out of that Nashville game. And it also was a people management decision. You came out of the Nashville game, and it was a great performance. You advance on. What do you tell your team if all of a sudden you just insert a player in? Forget that it's Luis Suarez. That makes it hard because you're sitting there going, I've got Suarez on the bench. And if this goes wrong, that is going to be highlighted. But internally, what do you tell your team if all of a sudden you've been performing well and you just go back to what you knew when you're in good form? I think it was a great management decision. We can say that on the hindsight, of course, but it certainly looks like a great management decision by him.
And I know we'll watch them going up against NYC in the last game of the Eastern Conference. What are you up to on Thursday? What is the KCD family Thanksgiving extravaganza?
I'm going to see my dad and spend time with him for Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day, so it should be fun.
Right on. It's going to be driving to Montgomery and catching up with the in-laws and the big spread that's going to be there. So 2.5 hours down, 2.5 hours back, live football on Friday. So we will catch up again next week. We'll know the championship game. We'll talk about more college, talk about stuff. That's the official term. KCD, good to see you. You and Owen have a fantastic holiday, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.